Welcome back everybody to our episode 4 of our Pro Stitcher Designer Introductory Series. Today we're going to continue with the remaining function in the Tools tab.
Now we're going to have a look at the Carousel function. So this time we're going to bring in another Pro Stitcher design. This time we're going to select triangles. And we're going to scroll down towards the bottom until we can find our scroll triangle. This time we're going to bring it onto the screen a different way. The first time we did a drop and drag, and that will add it to the existing worksheet. But I want it to open in its own worksheet. So now if I double left mouse click on it, it will now open it into its own worksheet. We're going to select the design, and then we're going to go and we're going to use the transform function in the properties panel over on the right. I'm going to make sure I've got the tick in maintain aspect ratio, and I'm going to change the size to 5 inches in the width. I'm also going to reposition it so it's in the center, so I'm going to change the X and Y to both 0 and then apply. I'm now going to select our carousel function. And by default it gives me 8 repeats, but I'd like only 6 repeats. And I'm going to change the width. So again, if I keep the aspect ratio ticked, I'm going to change that to 6 and apply. So that's given me a nice look of a design, but it's not quite what I was after. So what I'm going to do here is click on cancel, and I'm going to come into our modify tab menu. I'm going to flip it horizontally, and then I'll go back to tools, I'll go back to carousel, I'll make it only 6 repeats. Now I need to make this circle a little bit bigger to deal with the overlap that is here. So I'm going to make that 9.70 and apply. And now I've got just a nice little join happening here with an overlap in the ribbons here. So I like the look of that one. So I'll click OK. Now we're going to come into our preview and we're going to stitch it out. And I'm going to play or simulate the stitching. And then I can also make it go a little bit faster because it is a bigger design by moving the slider bar here. You will notice that it's created a jump stitch from here to here. So I don't really want to have a jump stitch in my design. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right mouse click to finish that drawing. To go back to the Tools tab, we're going to click undo until we can get back to our single design. I'm going to press the space bar to get me into full screen. And then we're going to go into shape mode by pressing E on my keyboard. So now you can see there's the start point of the design and there's the end point. And that's what creates the jump stitch between the two designs. So what we're going to do is left mouse click and hold on the green dot, and I'm going to move that to the point of the bottom left hand swirl. I'm going to then come over and left mouse click and hold on the red dot, and I'm going to drag that over until it's on the bottom right hand point of the swirl. Once I've done that, I'll click Q to go back into select mode. I'll go back to carousel. I'm going to bring it back to 6 repeats with a width of 9.70 and apply, and then OK. So now you can see if we look at the design, so I'll just go to the navigator, where the join is here, there is no longer a jump stitch. So it means that when I go into preview and stitch out and simulate, I'll now have a design that will stitch perfectly without any jump stitches, so it is now a continuous wreath type design. right mouse click to finish the preview, and now you can go and save the design. So the next tool we're going to have a play with is the Reflect tool. So we're going to use a Pro Stitcher triangle again. So this time we're going to scroll up in the thumbnail window until we can find our heart to heart triangle. So heart in heart, double left mouse click so it opens up into a new worksheet. What we're going to do now is we're going to ensure that the design is selected, and we're going to come up to the Modify tab, and then we're going to rotate 45 degrees left and then go back to the Tools tab. You can press the space bar then to now see the design in full screen. So we're now going to select the Reflect icon, and as you can see it's now reflected it both horizontally and vertically, so we've got a nice block type design now, but you will notice that we've got a gap here in each of the points. They're not meeting up. So we're going to do a little bit of doctoring and fix this. So we're going to cancel out of here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to move our design so that I've got it positioned exactly here, and we'll zoom in, and so we'll go to our navigator bar, and I want to zoom in, and I want to make sure that this black line here and this line here are exactly on a blue set of grid lines. So I can get it close enough with my mouse, but now I'm going to hold the control key down and press the arrow keys on my keyboard till I get it exactly matched up in that bottom right hand corner. So then what I'm going to do is use the navigator bar, and I'm going to slide across, and you can see now that the end point here is not on the same horizontal line as the design. So I'm going to press E on my keyboard to go into our shape mode, and I'm going to move this point down onto this blue grid line. I can't just pick it up and drag it because it's got the start button there. I need to left mouse click and hold and just drag that back along the line so I can now see my blue node. I'm now going to left mouse click and drag my blue node down onto that grid line there. I'm also going to just readjust the arc of that line, and then I'll move the green dot, the start dot, back to that point. So I'll need to do the same with the top right hand corner. So again, using my navigator window, I'm going to now come up onto the top right corner. I'm going to left mouse click and just drag the red dot away from the node. I'm going to move the node over to the blue vertical grid line this time. I'm then going to adjust the arc of that line, and then I'll replace the red dot at the end. And then I'll go spacebar to bring it back into full view, and then Q to select it. So now that I've got it selected, I'll now go back into Reflect, and you can see now how my joints have all perfectly matched up. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll click OK. Now once I've clicked OK, you'll notice that I've got these big jump stitches here, which means my start and end points aren't exactly where I need them to be. So to address that, we're going to come back over to our Design Properties panel, and we're going to go into Sequence. And when you use the Reflect Carousel tools and that, it actually groups the items together. So where it says Group here, I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to select Ungroup. When it ungroups, I'm going to click now on the little plus sign beside the design, and now I can see the individual parts of the design. So I've now selected our first design here, but I also need to see it in our shape mode. So I'm going to come in and select it and go into E for shape mode. So that's okay. There's my start and there's my finish. So what I'm going to do now is look at number 2. Okay, and number 2 is starting here and finishing here. So what I'm going to do is just come up and swap the start and end points. Now I'm going to look at number 3. So I'm going to select object number 3. Oh, that's a bit strange. I would have thought normally that should have been the last one to stitch out. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click on that and I'm going to drag it down until it highlights number 4 and then release. Then I'll go back to number 3. Yes, that's the third one in the design. Okay, I'm just going to put it back into shape mode again so I can see where my start and end points are. Yep, starting at the center right, and then finishing at the bottom. And then I'm going to select number 4. Well, that's not going to start and finish at the right spot. So I just come and swap. So once I've done all that, I'll then now go up to the preview tab, go to stitch out and simulate the design just to check that everything is actually going to stitch out as I would have hoped for, which it seems to be it's doing now. So isn't that a fantastic way that you can edit designs, you can move the sequencing around, you can swap start and end points to make your designs flow much, much easier and much nicer for you on your quilting machines. Just remember to right mouse click to end the stitch preview function. Now we're going to have a look at the Echo Quilting function. So we'll need to return to the Tools tab up the top. And again, we're going to bring in a new design. So we're going to come down to the Designs tab in the Properties panel. We're going to open our Pro Stitcher designs. And this time we're going to select blocks. And we are looking for the daffodil block. So we're just going to scroll down. And there's our daffodil block there. So what I'm going to do is double left mouse click so it now opens it up onto a new worksheet. So once we're going to make sure we've got the design selected. So click on to select the design. And then we're going to come up here to the Echo Quilting icon. And we have some different options that we can use to create different effects. So I'm going to put in 1/4 inch distance. So I'm going to put in 0.25. I'm going to increase the repeats to 4. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the Unite Outlines is ticked, and I'll leave all the other options unticked at the present moment, and then I'll click OK. And then I can press spacebar on my screen, on my keyboard, so I can now see the full design in the screen. So let's try some of the other options for Echo Quilting. So let's go up and click Undo. And we're going to make sure that the design state is selected. We're going to go to our Echo Quilting icon. I'm going to make the distance in this position, in this design 0.10. I'm going to increase the repeats to 8. I'm going to make sure that inside is ticked. I'm going to untick Unite Outlines. I'm going to tick Geometric Echo, and then we're going to click OK. So now, isn't that a wonderful effect? I really like that one. I think that's pretty cool. So you can play around with all those different settings and play and get different effects with all of the Echo Quilting. So please feel free to have a play with the different tools and different settings within the Echo Quilting and see what marvelous creations you can create from there. Now we're going to have a look at the Repeat on Path function. So first of all, we're going to bring in a new design. So we're going to come into our Pro Stitcher designs, continuous line, and we're going to find our leaf trail. Once you've found the design, double left mouse click to open it into a new worksheet. Then we're going to click on the design to select it. And then we're going to go up to our Transform tab, and then we're going to change the height. So make sure the Maintain Aspect Ratio is ticked. And we're going to change the height to 1.25 and apply. And then we're going to just come into the screen. I'm just going to roll my mouse roller down so I can zoom out so I can see a little bit more of my worksheet. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to select my curve from my draw tools. And I'm just going to do a couple of little curve points, and then when I get across, I'm going to right mouse click to finish. So once I've done that, I'm now going to come into the sequence bar. So come back over to the properties panel, select the sequence tab, expand out the sequence, and you'll notice that our little trail leaf design is actually a run. So it's in stitches. For the repeat to work on path feature, all objects must be artwork. So now we need to convert it from stitches back to artwork. So I'm going to right mouse click on object number 1. Then I'm going to come up and hold my mouse over convert to. And when the flyout comes out, I'm going to select artwork. So now both my objects are in artwork. So to apply this function, I'm going to select all. So I'm going to go Control A on my keyboard. So now I've got both of my objects selected. And also you must put your path line, or your path shape must be the second object. So your design must always be your first object and your path must be your second object. So now we're going to come up and repeat on path, and then I'm just going to leave the settings as they are and click OK, and you can see automatically now it has taken my trail leaf design and fitted it along my curve. So it can give you some really lovely effects by doing that. So we're just going to have another play with this repeat on path. So we're going to come back to our design tab down here at the bottom of the properties panel. We're going to stay with continuous line. I'm just going to scroll up a bit until I can find the Lariat HQV. Double left mouse click to open it into a new worksheet. And then I'm going to select it. And then we're going to change the size. So again, at the top of the properties panel, I'm going to go to the transform tab, and I'm going to make sure the maintain aspect ratio is on. And I'm going to change the width here to 2.00 and apply. Again, I'm going to zoom out. Okay. And to make my life a little bit easier, I'm actually going to come up and I'm going to come to the modify tab, and I'm going to center the design. So now it's going to go to the 0, 0 position. Just scroll out again because I want to see about 8 grid lines around the design. Now I'm going to use one of our artwork functions. So I'm going to go back to the tools tab. I'm going to click on the down arrow under artwork, and I'm going to select the hexagon. I'm also going to right mouse click on the grid line on the ruler, and I am going to put snap to grid on. So once I've done that, I'm now going to position my cursor at the start of the -4 and the 4 on the grid line. Left mouse click and hold. And I'm going to drag my hexagon across to the +4 grid line and the -4 at the bottom. And then once I've got that, I'll release the mouse key, and then I'm going to just go to Q to select the object so it finishes the function. So what I'm going to do now is come back to the sequence tab at the bottom of the properties panel. Again, I need to select our design, the Lariat design, right mouse click, left mouse click on convert to, and then select artwork. Then we're going to go Control A to select all. We're going to go up to repeat on path. And what we're going to do now is say the division length, we'll leave it at 2 and click OK. And you can see that it's now created a continuous design for us. It's also got the artwork of the hexagon underneath it as well. So I don't actually want to use that hexagon as part of my design. So I'm going to come in And if I just click on the little pencil icons over on the sequence bar, it'll actually show me a preview of which piece of the design or which element it is. So it's the hexagon I want to delete. So I'm just going to select that, then press delete on my keyboard, and now I've got my design. But it is in artwork, so now I need to convert it to stitches so I can see how it's going to stitch out. So what we're going to do is come to the preview tab. I'm going to select stitches, so I'm going to convert the design from artwork to stitches. And then if you expand out the sequence bar, you'll now see that it's in what we call run. So now I'm going to stitch it out so I can see how it's going to stitch. So I just click on simulate, and now I can watch out how the design is going to sew. And it perfectly matches up the start and end points. Remember to right mouse click to end the function. So the last tool we're going to have a look at is going to be our raise. So we're going to go back to the Tools tab. I'm going to go Control N to open a new worksheet, and then I'm going to use my shapes. So I'm going to click on the down arrow under Artwork, and I'm going to select Star. So I'm now going to create a star that is 4 grid lines by 4 grid lines. So there's my little star. Okay, so then I'm going to right mouse click or go Q to select the object. Now I'm going to come up to the raise function up the top, so click on raise, and now I can set my parameters. So I'm going to say the length of my raise are going to be 10. I'm then going to set the spread at 40, and I'm going to put 20 rays in. So I'll put in 20, and then I'll click on apply. So once your computer's calculated that, you can then click on OK. And there you can see the outline of your star. And then you've got your 10-inch spread by 40 centimeters apart and 20 repeats of the design. So that's a really quick and easy feature. However, there is one tip you must be aware of, is that the shape you use in the middle to create the raise from must be what we call a simple closed shape. It can't have a open start and end point, and it can't have a lot of curves that go in and out. Okay, so otherwise it will not calculate the raise for you.
Well everybody, that's the last episode of our Introduction to Pro Stitcher Designer series. I hope you have enjoyed learning about the new Pro Stitcher Designer. It's a very exciting program. If you have any queries or questions or would like to see some more information about the program, please feel free to contact us on the numbers and email on the screen, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your software.